a sneak attack, something like that. Knowing where your opponent is and what your opponent's doing is always key. And now that Zeratool also knows that there's Archons on the field, I would actually highly recommend getting Immortals in order to deal with the Archons, maybe 1 or 2 Immortals to take the damage from the Archons while you can focus them down. But also with this, checking, if you go ahead and we take a look again back at Zeratool's view, I'm going to go ahead and pause the game. If you take a look back at Zeratool's view, he does see that there are a few Zealots that are warping in here, but he hasn't checked this expansion, he hasn't checked this expansion, and he hasn't checked this expansion. Checking your expansions, even in high-level games, a sneaky expansion here, a sneaky expansion here, or a sneaky expansion here, or even if he had started getting his natural, could have proved to be very, very deadly, very, very dangerous. And he doesn't know that, he doesn't know that the pylon was resurrected right here. But what he does see is that he sees that there are these Zealots that are out here. If you see the Zealots that are out there, try and look for a counterattack, and also try and see if you can't poke up with some Stalkers, shoot the Zealots a couple times, and see if he has charge. Test the upgrades. Find out what he has. Zeratool does have the +1 upgrade, and he is working on +1 weapons, and he's working on +1 armor. Since he is a little light on gas, I would probably say go ahead and warp in a few more Zealots. Get a little bit more of a Zealot-heavy army, or knock these rocks down and do another expansion. When you have map control, you can expand freely. You can expand to the gold, you can expand to your 3rd expansion, you can expand here. Expanding and keeping your minerals up, keeping your macro, keeping your economy is going to be extremely beneficial. Warping in the photon cannon up front, it may or may not be a good idea, considering that he does have the Templar archives. It can go ahead and it can prevent Dark Templar, because as you can see, there is no robotics bay. And having cannons, even though they are stationary, will at least provide you some type of an alert, and you can huddle your units around the cannons to take out the Dark Templar. He has a sentry back here just in case, there's some Dark Templar, he sees them, and he can go ahead and force field the ramp, prevent them from getting in, or prevent some type of a run-by from some Stalkers in order to go ahead and snipe his economy. And Zeratool's done a really great job. He's kept up on his economy. He has 2 expansion bases, and right around the 13-minute mark, again, since you have this kind of a map control, you know that you tested his front door, you know that he doesn't have very many troops. Again, take an expansion if you can. The worst thing that can happen is you can go ahead and you can cancel it. I don't highly recommend using minerals for cannons, but Zeratool does currently have a trust fund of minerals, so we can afford to throw cannons here, throw cannons there. And if we go ahead and go to the everyone cam, Ryan was trying to get an observer out, but Zeratool placed a cannon at the Xel'Naga watchtower, and again, that can be free minerals, that can be a free snipe, free loss of resources. And if you go ahead and you take a look, Zeratool was very wise. He didn't want to come over here, and because he knew that there was a cannon here to where he might be, have a few pot shots taken at him, and every hit counts. This was not a tight wall off. There was still the pylon that was still there, but as you can see, the Archons can't even get out. There's only a few Stalkers that are actually able to fire, and he doesn't have that large of an army. And with this, the Stalkers have the ramp, and this is a great push. And the Archons, unfortunately, are able to go ahead, and since this is a small funnel, go ahead and start taking down any units that are in that funnel. And unfortunately, the ramp can be a very, very dangerous place for units, just because they can be locked in, force-fielded, and they can be surrounded very easily. With that, you also have a great blink right into the base, and there's a lot of micro that's going on, and there was a Stargate, and all of a sudden, here's a Void Ray. Since the Zealots are currently down on the ground, if you do see a Void Ray, try and focus the Void Ray down. Try and blink around, micro, snipe the Void Ray, because if the Void Ray gets fully charged for Stalkers with the Zealots on the ground, it's going to do a lot of damage. Right here, you probably might have been able to go ahead and blink out if you were Zeratool. Just blink down here to the low ground, because all he has right now are Zealots. And placing a hold position here, he's now actually set up a really good contain. And again, don't be afraid to go ahead and take an expansion. You know, there's plenty of resources, and what could have also happened here for Ryan is he could have gotten a warp prism and flown his warp prism and gotten an expansion right there. He could have had it for quite a while. Zeratool does currently he's in a great position. All that's really here are just zealots. Ryan's hurting for gas, he can't warp in the stalkers, and only one zealot at a time can go ahead and can attack this front stalker here. Adding a sentry into the mix, knowing that you can go ahead and try and funnel this choke here, might have been a wise idea, but you know, Zeratool has an overpowering army. He has 2 weapons, 1 armor, and Ryan doesn't have any upgrades. He's trying to chrono boost out Storm. Storm doesn't do a whole lot of damage against stalkers because they're such an agile unit. They can move very, very quickly. And as you can see, Ryan goes ahead and he calls the good game. And so we will go ahead and we will back up through the replay. I believe it's right here, right about the 13-minute mark. Actually, it was a little further back. Let's see here. It's a little further forward. Alright. Right here, we'll go ahead and we'll take the replay from here. We're going to go ahead and go at ×8 speed. Just go ahead and speed through the attack. Now, right here, as you can see, the timer's at 11 minutes and 6 seconds. Right now, Zeratool has not scouted any of the expansions. Even though that he did just do a push, and the pylon is there for a nice little wall off, let's go ahead and review how long it's going to take before another scout or another incursion actually happens. So we're at 11 minutes and 6 seconds. ×8. Keeps going. 12 minutes. 13 minutes. Right here, 14 minutes. So he had 3 minutes to go ahead, get an expansion, get it saturated, and there was no scouting. You know, having a probe come in here, patrol the area, sending a zealot, you know, an observer if Zeratool had one, could have prevented an expansion, could have prevented you know, Ryan from moving out if he had actually gone ahead and taken that, because Ryan has enough resources to where he could throw down a nexus, a pylon, and then start warping in some cannons for defense and make this a very, very hard position to crack. Having information, even if it's just sending a probe's only 50 minerals, and they're pretty fast. Probes, SCVs, and drones are pretty much are some of the fastest units in the game. The only things that, you know, again, are faster are going to be your average Reaper, your Speedling, and your Stalker and your Hellions. That can really go ahead and chase them down to no end. Also with this, there is this other gateway that is here that was never warped into a warp gate, and I understand sometimes you go ahead and you forget that you actually have the warp gate. But other than that, it was a really well-played game. Zeratool did a great job. He didn't overcommit. He held his position. He didn't just charge blindly up the ramp. He was waiting for a few more unit production cycles before he actually nailed the final nail in the coffin. Other than that, it was a really great game. On Zeratool's part, he did a wonderful contain, and Ryan, I feel, could have probably pushed out a little bit more and secured a few more bases, been able to macro a little bit more, instead of actually holding on to this trust fund of 2,500. And again, when you attack, go ahead and expand, because he's not going to, you know, try and push you back 99.9% of the times. So when you attack, expand. One major hint and resource for you. Also, you can also go ahead and use the warp gate abilities as well for the hotkeys, which is W, and you can start warping in units at any type of pylon that you have. And you know, if you have minerals, go ahead and throw down a few cannons if you have nothing else to spend your money on. But Zeratool wasn't maxed, probably could have gotten a few more zealots into the mix, maybe a few more stalkers, and also taken another base. So hopefully I hope that everything, that you guys enjoyed this commentary, and it was a great tutorial, and I will see you guys next time.